This week, so lots of cheering for him.
Despite the huge satisfaction felt in my constituency at the government's decision not to proceed with the second runway at Stansted Airport, is my right honourable friend aware that blight and uncertainty still overhangs the communities closest to the airport? And will he look to see if other measures could be taken to provide them with longer-term assurance?
Well, can I first of all say what a pleasure it is to see my honourable friend be able to speak about these issues for the first time in many, many years, and I'm sure he will do so often and with great power from the backbenches. He's right to say that in the coalition agreement we're very clear about Stansted Airport. I hope that does remove some of the blight and uncertainty, and I'll certainly bear in mind what he had to say.
Andrew Miller.
During the general election, the Conservative Party distanced themselves from remarks by the Right Honourable Gentleman for Rushcliffe when he spoke about government aid and said it had nothing to do with Vauxhall. Will the Prime Minister take this opportunity to remove the uncertainty, not only just from Vauxhall, but from Sheffield Forgemasters and all of the other companies that are waiting for support in relation to properly constructed agreements?
The MP for Rushcliffe is Kenneth Clark.
Everyone wants to see Vauxhall succeed. It's a very important company employing many people in this country, not least in his own constituency. As he knows, a £270 million government loan guarantee to support GM Europe was announced on the 12th of March 2010. We are reviewing commitments made since the 1st of January 2010. Projects that are good value for money and consistent with the government's priorities will go ahead. But let me say to the Honourable Lady and others shouting opposite, we have to be clear that there were spending announcements made by the previous government before the election that do need to be reviewed. If I just take one example of one scheme operated by Lord Mandelson's department, the so-called Strategic Investment Fund, when we looked at the money provided for specific projects, we found that over two-thirds of the constituencies were marginal Labour seats. So it is right to examine these, but let me say to the honourable gentleman, proper grants, properly made, for proper reasons will go ahead, but fiddled grants for political reasons shouldn't do.
Stuart Andrew.
Mr. Speaker, the 16-year-old son of my constituent, Lorraine Fraser, died after a vicious multiple knife attack incident 6 years ago. One of the murderers is trying to use the law to reduce his tariff after only serving 5 years, and another avoided conviction altogether by fleeing the country. Would he agree to look into this case on behalf of my constituent and meet with her to hear her plight and the excellent work she's doing to defeat knife crime in this country?
I certainly hear what my honourable friend says, and we'll be happy to meet with him and his constituent. And I think we need to take knife crimes in this country incredibly seriously. There has been a huge increase in the carrying of knives, and we've got to put a stop to that. In terms of lenient sentences, the power that was introduced some 20 years ago now to allow the Attorney General to appeal against lenient sentences, I'm not convinced that power is used enough. And I think we need to look at that again and make sure that in cases where people really feel a lenient sentence has been put in place, there should be the opportunity to increase it.
John Woodcock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The defence contracts for Astute-class submarines signed in March of this year were long negotiated and essential for our security and for thousands of manufacturing jobs in my constituency and across the UK. Will he honour them?
Well, first of all, can I welcome the honourable gentleman and say how much I know that his constituency depends on the work that goes on in Barrow in the submarine yards. I've visited it myself. I've seen for myself the building of Astute-class submarines and also the submarines carrying our nuclear deterrent. I know how important it is. We do have a defence review underway. That defence review has to include the Astute-class submarines. But everyone, and to those who call from opposite, let me just say, the Labour Party was committed to a defence review itself. And we asked the question whether everything, including aircraft carriers, was included, and the answer came back yes. So it's no good trying to bicker now you're in opposition. It's right we have a defence review. It's right we consider these things. But I know how important submarine building is to Barrow and to the defence of this nation.
Mr. David Evanett.
Thank you very much. Members opposite may revere regional development agencies, but is my right honourable friend aware of the considerable amount of money wasted by some RDAs, particularly on unnecessary expenditure and entertainment, can he confirm that in order to get better value for taxpayers' money, he will take action on the RDAs?
Well, my honourable friend is right, and I know there's a lot of argument and discussion going on about regional development agencies, but the figures for how much money has been wasted should be more widely shared. The East Midlands Development Agency paid over £300,000 for offices in North America. The North West Development Agency shared an office in Newport Beach. One North East spent money on offices in China, Japan, Korea, Australia. CEDA, the South East Development Agency, the chairman of it, spent £51,000 on taxis and executive cars in 1 year alone. I have to say, we need to have proper control of costs and proper control of spending. There hasn't been any for the last 13 years, and there sure is going to be under this government.
Margaret Hodge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I tell the Prime Minister about my constituents, Nikki Blunden, who is 37. She has a son aged 4 and she is dying of cancer. Her consultant wants to prescribe the new drug Lepatinib, which could prolong her life. Last week, NICE deemed the treatment